All right, what's up, everybody? My disclaimer is I am not a medical professional. This podcast isn't giving you medical advice. It's about menstruation, an experience that happens to half of the world. So, yeah, everyone should be able to talk about it and destigmatize it and fucking embrace it. Also, I curse, so there's that too. I'm your host, Ash, Ecuadorian American. I'm also a person that is made up of my past and future selves and all of my relations, and so my pronouns are they them. I got that from Dyke Merch. I heard this person say that, and I was like, oh, that's very cool. And yeah, I'm still sober. That 4-year mark is coming up in a couple weeks, and yeah. And I have this lovely guest with me here. We're at a library, a fellow queer podcaster. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Haley Steinhuber. I am a they-them archivist in DC/Baltimore, and I host the podcast Q4Q, Queer Personals. Queer Personal Ads.
Q4Q.
Q4Q.
Yeah.
So I have a guest on for each episode. We swipe left or right on a handful of ads from like the 1970s, 1960s, 1980s to essentially when the internet came on. Sometimes I venture out into phone personal ads or internet and whatnot, but yeah, so if you're interested in ever being on the show, definitely reach out.
Yeah, it's super fun. I think I'm on episode 19. We did like some poetry personal ads, but it's really fun. I would highly recommend it. It's like good queer content that actually happened. Yeah, so a little bit more about you. Like, what is an archivist?
An archivist is a steward, an organizer, a helper of history.
Nice.
We tend to, well, I say organizer of history because it is like archivists can shape history by the way that they organize materials, but it can mean like anything from like providing reference, doing little treasure hunts with researchers, or preserving photographs, audiovisual materials. It's like a lot of things.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, what are your other passions other than podcasting, archivizing?
Queer history. I like thrift shopping a lot.
Hell yeah.
What else do I do for fun? Kiss my dog, hang out in my yard.
Nice.
Yeah, I just bought a house in Baltimore, so that's most of my hobby now too. So,
okay,
yeah.
Homeowner.
Yeah. There are a lot of good programs out there where you can afford to purchase a house that is not in DC, because even with their programs, you can't really.
Yeah, awesome. And where can listeners find your podcast or your social media or whatever?
If you want to follow my podcast page, it's at Queer Personals Pod on Instagram. I used to have a Twitter, and then I just kind of deleted the app off of my phone because it's gone way downhill.
Yeah, it's a little bit intense right now.
It's like X.
It's X.
Slowly, I gotta stop. So you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm on there pretty often, or Q4Q podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, please do so. Any shout outs you want to give?
Yes, actually. Okay, so I would like to shout out this other Instagram account of someone I follow. It's at a queer commune, and it's like an archiving project based in Minneapolis, run by this one person, Jared, I believe. They share a lot of cool queer ephemera on their account, and a lot of it comes from the Treader collection and the GLBT Studies archive at the University of Minnesota.
Cool.
And so I just think they're neat. We've been chatting a while, and all of their content is perfect on the Queer Commune page and at their personal account as well.
Okay, cool. So what was it again? Queer.
It's at a Queer Commune. I can share that with you too.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds dope. Thanks for that shout out. Okay, we're gonna roll into some cycle updates. So I'm gonna share mine, and I'll ask you about your cycle updates.
I gotta think about my cycle.
All right, I'll give you some time.
Okay.
So I'm on day 19, and I'm feeling pretty tired. I had a really long day at work, but I'm still ovulating-ish. So still fun, still flirty, just sleepy, but I wanted to share I got my reusable menstrual pads. I shared a little bit about that on my Instagram. Shout out to my Instagram. But yeah, we'll see. So like my period underwear is great, but I think that pads are going to be easier to change at work and out and about, and probably easier to clean and stuff. So like there's been like wear and tear and many wash cycles, and also like it's changed the texture, so it's way less comfortable. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but if you have, let me know if the texture of your period underwear has changed.
Mine certainly has. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was like, am I doing something
it's
wrong?
fully bleached.
Yeah, it changes colors, and it's, yeah. And I think it's related to not rinsing right after using, but like work and life and things are happening. So I need a change, so I'm hoping the pads are going to be more sustainable for long-term use. It was $90 for 7 pads. I got some mini and then like some regular. But the minis are like what like disposable pads would be like regular. So they're like this big. And then their regular is like this big.
Oh my god.
Or wait, hold on. It's like it's like the size of my foot. It's like that big.
Measures foot.
Yeah, so bleeding is expensive, and it really shouldn't be. And I would love if more expensive products like this had scholarships or sliding scales, because it could really help someone, or at least allow them to try something out, something new, especially like long term when you consider the cost of disposable products each month, like, but you're not sure if you want to like go fully in and getting $90 a menstrual pad. Like, I think it'd be nice if you could just have like a tryout pad that's like sliding scale, because I know for a lot of people, especially like with disabilities and stuff, it can be an issue. Like, you don't know if you want to like go all in for something, like pads. I know like for a cup it's a little different because it's just one thing that lasts you forever, but pads and underwear can end up racking up. Yeah. Especially if you keep changing them, so just depending on the flow. But yeah, so I was really hoping that Diva Discs would do it for me, but like it's just not for me. Like I can't handle it. I can't handle something inside of me, and I didn't realize that before, but that's what I'm learning about me. I got the brand of the menstrual pads I got is Isle. It's AISLE. So we'll see. I usually used, like, prior to getting this, I use Bambody, which is bamboo and cotton. I really like their brand because it's just simple, but their underwear runs small. And that's one of the other reasons why I want to change to pads, is because when I'm bleeding, I tend to bloat and gain weight. So I just want to try something that is going to be the same no matter what my body does. Especially because it can be so uncomfortable, and like, when you're on your period, you just want to be as comfortable as possible and not really think about like the way my body is like right then, because I'm like, I can get sensitive about that. It's like that good old like internalized body shame and stuff. But making my body more comfortable is a good place to start celebrating my body, or at least naturalizing it during the sensitive time. So yeah, that is my period update. I got menstrual pads in about like a week or two. I'm going to start using them, and then hopefully they do the trick, and hopefully, you know, I'll let y'all know about Isle. It seems like a good company. They have really cute period underwear. Their pads are pretty cute, but I'll get into that another time.
So I have a practical question about these reusable pads.
Mm-hmm.
So like, do you have like a wet bag or something for it? Like, because that's the issue that I had. Well, even with like the Diva cup or whatever, I was like, well, now I have this, now I have to put it inside of me again.
Yes.
Just even if I don't want to, because there's not really anywhere to put it. So I was just wondering, because I know, and like, it feels like it would be similar to like reusable diapers. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not hip to like reusable diaper
life. I'm not either. I'm just like,
but like with the pads, yeah, there's like wet and dry bags that you can buy on Isle. I did not. I'm just gonna like make my own bag.
Yeah,
you know, like I have hella bags. Like I don't need to buy more. I spent fucking $90 on I'm like not trying to get like a bag unless I feel
a Walmart bag inside of another bag.
Yeah, I'm like, unless I'm feeling really passionate about this company and I'm like, wow, I really want to get your wet bag and dry bag. They do have one where it's like a 2-pouched bag where like one is like clean and one is like
nice.
dirty. Yeah. But like you can get any type of bag that has, like you could get a pencil pouch that has that, you know?
Yeah, truly. Yeah. And that's like, what, $2 at Target?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's practically what I'm thinking I'm going to do is just get my own bag and put it in there. Any other questions about it?
No, I just thank you.
So like instead of like sticky flaps that stick to your underwear, it's a button that keeps them on.
Oh, like a safety pin button, or like do you have to buy like a certain thing to? So sorry, I don't know.
No, it's not a safety pin button. It's like a button that you press together, and it shuts, and that's how it stays in place. Is with this button.
That's nice.
It might be nice and satisfying. I wonder how it's gonna feel to sit, knowing that there's a button.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That might be like the Prince and the Pea, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll let y'all know. But yeah, that is my update. So, Haley, what's your relationship like to your cycle?
My relationship to my cycle. Here, I wrote some notes.
Yeah.
So, we're not friends necessarily, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I love not to have it.
And
I've tried to use birth control methods to kind of muffle my periods, but yet the cycle, she persists. And I don't really even like have an issue with bleeding as much as like the craziness I feel the week before it happens. So, and before I was like medicated for anxiety, I would have these like intense mood swings that would verge on ruining my life, my relationships, work, whatever. And then like every time, like a week later, I'd be like, oh yeah, like that's not how I actually feel all the time. I'd like start bleeding and then I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm not crazy. So it's really taken me a long time to get like this concoction of meds to figure out how to manage those mood swings. And then also just, I don't know, like all of like the cramps and whatnot that have come with it.
right.
Yeah.
So not friends, but like you're like, it's there. I'm
No,
dealing
like
with it.
it's there. I don't hate it as much as I used to, because now I have like I'm like very manageable and feel like a lot more stable in my life. The fact that period underwear exists now, and what is it? The cups, menstrual cups, have been nice. But yeah, for a while there, it was really dark. It was like big, like really heavy pads during the day, plus a tampon, plus like a little piece of toilet paper for good luck.
Wow. Yeah. That lucky toilet paper.
Yeah. Just, which would sometimes just like not, like, because it's not stuck to anything, would just like,
Oh, yeah.
just disappear. And it's like, where did it go? I don't know. Somewhere on the street. Good luck.
How long do you think it took you to get to this place, like, where it's manageable?
Honestly, until DC, like I moved to DC in like 2019. So like I think I started bleeding in like 2007. So a good like 12 years of like, and I grew up in like Indiana. So like it wasn't like, and I never had really consistent like gynecologists or anybody that I was talking to.
Yeah.
It took me getting medicated for my anxiety, which also took me a long time. And then talking about it with partners and them being like, it's not normal for you to like have this much pain and like this much like not trauma, I guess, but like upheaval in your emotional state. So yeah, it's taken a while, and I just started like maybe when I started taking like herbal supplements like a few months ago, and like actually because like I became medicated for anxiety and that worked for a while, and then it stopped working, and I started to do that cycling thing again, even though I was medicated on SSRIs. So I was like, okay, I gotta figure something out, and started taking some supplements, and now I'm actually like, it's like really good. So this is like months ago.
Wow. 12 years. Like, like I wish people had more resources because it could take so long, and that's a pretty similar to my story too. Like it was about 2019 when I started realizing like the the positioning of my mental illness and my cycle, and
Yeah.
realizing that I can make them, work with each other and not against each other, because I didn't even think about how they were working against each other before 2019. And yeah, it must have been about like 10 years of just like 10, 12 years of just like.
Right. Well, and then there are all these like jokes of like, oh, like women or like people with periods become crazy when around their menstruation, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So you never like, you don't want to like be that like, what is it, that stereotype, and then it's like, oh, actually, fuck you.
Yes.
For portraying women as crazy, and like this is just normal because it doesn't have to be.
Exactly, it doesn't have to be. It's very important. How was your cycle this go around?
It's been fine. I mean, like a week ago, I was like, oh, maybe I'm just not like gonna get like my period this year, and now we're in day 2 of bleeding, so I'm wearing my things.
Right on.
And even though they're like a few years old, and
yeah,
I think that they've had like a massive lawsuit about giving people
did.
cancer.
They have.
I'm like, I
still
should throw these out, and yet here I am still wearing them. So
you said you also use cups too.
Yes, I have in the past. When I haven't been on birth control, I've used cups because birth control does make it way less heavy. So now I'm like straight free bleeding into the thinks, but
okay,
can't do that when I'm not on birth control. So that's what, again, cup and thinks.
Right, the combo.
Yeah,
cool. And what's your self-care like during your cycle now?
What is my self-care? I used to take a lot of baths.
Nice.
But now I only have a shower. So I mostly just get myself little treats.
Yeah.
And
little treats are great.
Yeah. And like I often like just like forget that I'm going through these motions every month. So it really just takes me a second to be like, oh yeah, like I deserve some kindness today because I'm experiencing blood.
Right. And you mentioned like taking some supplements.
Yeah. I started taking this like women's health not hormonal because I don't take hormonal stuff. Where is it? Hormone balance for women.
Oh, okay.
And it's by Daily Nutra. I'm not sure if I should be shouting this out, but
I
just get it. It's like $30 on Jeff Bezos' website, but I take that with my regular birth control and anxiety meds. Sorry, I'm like out of the camera now.
It's all good.
I'm cheap because you're supposed to take 2 a day, but I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna split it up and then I get like 3 months out of it. But it's got what is it? Ashwagandha extract, Don Quay, chase tree berry, cocoa bean, all those like really fun like herbal things that
super fun
make you chill as fuck.
Yeah, hormonal health is awesome. Good times.
Yeah.
Chaseberry is super good for like PMDD and like emotions and stuff.
Yeah, I was looking that up. I was like, I don't know if I have PMDD, and then I was like, oh, those are all symptoms. And then I was like, how do I fix this? And this is what came up immediately. And I was like, this is affordable. Why have I not done this before?
Nice. Yeah, and I'm sure if you do take it twice a day, they probably like amps it up.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
So maybe I'll try it, but I don't wanna. Once my body gets used to this, then maybe I'll take two a day. So we'll see.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that is a great resource. Thank you for sharing it. Yeah. All right. Do you want to introduce our topic today?
Birth control. I hinted at it earlier.
Yes, it's birth control, and we will talk about it in a second. We're going to take a little break. We'll be right back. And we're back, and we're going to talk about this awesome topic. It is more specifically about estrogen and non-estrogen birth control. So I'm going to read some things. Sorry. Yeah, the BC. Yes, the big BC. Not birth before Christ, but birth control. So many people take birth control. Approximately 25% of bleeders aged 15 to 44 currently use BC as their method of choice for contraception, but also like 14% of people use it for non-contraceptive reasons. And reasons vary from wanting their cycles to be more regular, preventing unplanned pregnancies, to stop periods because of gender dysphoria, having PMDD, PCOS, fibroids, endo, migraines because of hormonal acne. The list can go on forever. So if you don't know someone super well, don't ask them or berate them on why they use birth control. It can be very personal, and not everybody is comfortable explaining shit. That's why I do this podcast, because you can ask me. And I might be a stranger to you, but chances are if you ask me about period stuff, I'm going to talk your ear off. This is like my special interest. I am down to tell you about this stuff. You can ask all the weird questions. So some people will think that it is harmful. This is like a common misconception, that it's harmful, it has harmful long-term effects, or that it suppresses your natural cycle. And some doctors push birth control on you instead of helping the underlying issue, which can be true in situations where alternatives and preventative care aren't offered in the medical industry, which is very unfortunate. And I have heard of people experiencing that. However, there are many people and feminists who are very pro-birth control access and all forms of reproductive and uterine care. And I am of that mindset. So that is where I stand on that situation. If there's informed consent and people need to do what's right for their bodies, like their own body is going to tell them what is good for them. And every body and situation is so unique. Like I mentioned, all of that list of why people get on birth control is super long. There is no one right way to treat your uterus or your body. So yeah, if you dominate conversations with your opinions about being anti-birth control, then you're not going to have the more important conversation, which is what it does, how it helps people, and what we can learn from each other's experience in a patriarchal medical industry. So that is my little spiel on birth control. But yeah, what was it like for you? What was it like to work with your doctor?
Well, so I've never had a consistent person that I've worked with. I moved moved around a lot during college. I don't think I even got a pap smear. Smear. Before I do that every time. I don't want you to know that. A pap smear. Before I was 19 or 20. I don't know. It took a while. I was in college. I took myself. My mom, I heard her go to a gynecologist. I'm glad she didn't take me to hers because it was a dude and I really didn't feel comfortable with that. But
right.
Anyway, but getting off onto a different subject. I just never really developed a relationship. So I would talk to general practitioners and I would just be like, hey, I want birth control. And they'd be like, lit, here you go. And so they started me on Sprintec, which is an estrogen one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Did you have any misconceptions about birth control before you decided to take it?
Sort of. I mean, I don't think they were necessarily misconceptions. I mean, I jumped into college undergrad and started talking to girls on my floor and they were like, oh my God, birth control helps. It eliminates my period. My acne is gone. Yeah, I gained a ton of weight, but I feel great. They're like, so maybe you'll gain a lot of weight. And I was like, I don't really care.
Right.
I want my period gone.
Yeah.
And I know that does sometimes happen for people with lighter stuff. Not for me, even though I still chase that high.
Of getting a period gone.
Getting her gone. So much that I went on got an IUD, and that really didn't work out either. So we can talk about that later if you want to. But
yeah, totally.
The misconceptions, I don't know. Just I never thought that I would go on birth control because especially at the time when I was starting, it was a very limited view of what a lesbian was. So I was like, I'm not going to get pregnant because I'm just having sex with quote unquote women.
Right, right.
But now, who knows? So birth control.
Birth control. I know, it's interesting that they call it birth control when 14% of the people use it for all of these other reasons. So it's I don't know. But it is an easy, everybody knows what you're talking about when you say birth control,
Yeah.
It's hormonal pills or non-hormonal pills that help with sometimes contraception, but sometimes all these other things. Yeah.
And it makes your dads really uncomfortable when you say it to them.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
What
always
is
fun.
that?
I don't know.
They just think like, oh God, that's sex. And it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
I've explained it to my dad so much, and he's like, please stop talking to me about this.
Oh,
okay, that's fair.
yeah. But like, you know, he probably wouldn't say that if it was like about your eye and you needed like eye drops, you know?
Yeah.
He'd be like, oh, okay, cool.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, let's jump into some fun facts about the two types of birth control we're talking about today. So we're talking about estrogen-based birth control and progestin-only birth control. Yeah. So estrogen-based birth control, it contains both estrogen and progestin, which is the synthetic form of progesterone. It's often called COC or COC, as I like to say, which stands for combined oral contraception pill. Estrogen inhibits follicular development. So remember, like follicular, that's why we have like a phase. There's little follicles in your ovaries that turn into eggs that are released. So it inhibits follicular development, but not as much as progesterone, and it controls bleeding. Progestin suppresses ovulation totally and prevents pregnancy. And it is like about 99% effective in preventing pregnancy. In a study that I read about, with perfect use, only 1 out of 100 people got pregnant. And with typical use, which is like, typical use I feel like is like what everybody is. It's like you're human, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to forget or not take it on time. And so in that group, 9 out of 100 people got pregnant with typical use. But perfect use, it's 99% effective. Which I feel like you got to be kind
a lot of babies.
Yeah, I feel like you got to be like type A to get perfect use.
Yeah.
Like
can't oversleep once.
Exactly, ever. Yeah, you'll like got to have an alarm for it for sure. So the types of estrogen-based birth control is there's 3 types. I'm gonna say one is monophasic or phase 1. It is the same amount of hormones every day. Then there's phase 2, which is called biphasic, and phase 3, which is called triphasic. And biphasic and triphasic means that they have different levels of hormones based on your cycle. It kind of will give you like a rise and fall of hormones like a cycle would. So what happens to your period when you take it? A regular spotting during the first few months, which is more likely with progesterone only, but spotting is more common with monophasic pills, the phase 1, which is like the same dose every day. With triphasic and biphasic, it is different. Like, I think there's like not as much spotting with that one. But yeah, is there anything you want to add about like your experience with estrogen-based birth control, or any other like side effects that you experienced that I didn't talk about?
God, sometimes I was so out of touch with my body that I don't really notice. Like I noticed that some of the side effects is like more yeast infections or like whatnot. I couldn't tell you. I didn't experience a lot of side effects that I know of, unless it's just I don't know. I just have regular exhaustion and depression, so I'm like, can't tell if this is birth control versus anything else. But
gotcha. Okay. Were there any like positive changes or?
I mean, yeah. So I think what is it? The pop one.
Or Progestin only.
That's like that one makes your uterine lining thinner.
Thinner.
So I feel like I did have like some lighter periods, and I'm not sure.
Cool,
but which was nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, totally. Well, let's go on to the progestin only one. So this is like non-estrogen. It doesn't have any estrogen in it. It is progestin only pill, so POP. So we have POP and we have COC, which I just think that's hilarious. It's POP and COC. Technically, if you're taking a pill, like a POP pill, it is progestin, the synthetic form of progesterone. Progesterone is the hormone that your body makes, and it does really cool stuff to your body. Like it does a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to summarize it really well because I'm reading this study and I'm like, but like I'm trying to like, basically it inhibits follicular development by reducing the follicular stimulating hormone, which I call FISH. But it's a hormone that's in your brain, and that's why we have a follicular phase. And it also decreases LH, the luteinizing hormone, which is, they're both in the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland in your brain. When those things aren't increased, it doesn't send the messages down to your follicles, and your follicles are what make estrogen. So when like FISH and LH aren't sent down to the ovaries, follicles aren't stimulated enough, and the estrogen doesn't increase as much, and this stops ovulation. Not like totally, but like for the most part it does. And progestin also makes cervical mucus unfriendly to sperm, and that's literally the term they used in the study, was that it makes it unfriendly. I think it makes cervical mucus thicker. I don't think they're in there like beating up the sperm. Yeah, just get out of here, sperm.
That's what my mucus does.
I'm gonna pop you. But yeah, so if you take the pill at the same time every day, it's 99% effective. If you take it at different times of day or you skip a dose, it's 91% effective. So similar to the estrogen-based one. Mm-hmm. And here's some types of POP-based birth control. I can't pronounce these right, but it's going to be okay. Drospirenone. It mainly suppresses ovulation. Norethindrone thickens cervical mucus, suppresses ovulation, decreases the LH and FISH, which makes it effective in treating PCOS and acne.
And that's me, just saying, just throwing it out there.
Norethindrone. This sounds like a different language.
I know. It's like, I feel like they're like little characters in a Shakespeare play or something.
Yeah.
Especially mini pill, which is next.
Yes, mini pill. So we have the mini pill, which is a small dose of POP, which sounds so cute. Like, tiny. Yeah, get a mini pill for your small dose of POP. And then other progesterone birth controls can come as injections, implants, or IUDs, also known as IUSs. I don't know what the S stands for yet, but I'm going to learn. But yeah, I think one day we're going to be able to vape our own birth control and hormones. I think that's gonna be another evolution of things that people are going to vape.
Put it in your lungs.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, hold on, I have to put in my birth control cartridge or my testosterone cartridge and vape it. But yeah, ideally it is taken at the same time every day because it digests super quickly. And so what happens to your period when you take POP? It thins the lining of your uterus, so an egg won't implant there, and it makes it shorter and lighter and less painful. But for the first 3 months or so, it can be irregular. And the side effects are like similar for both POP and COC. Although typically there are less side effects when taking POP or mini pill, the side effects are mild and disappear over time, or switching formula. But other like side effects that are more rare, it's like nausea, headaches, cramps, breast tenderness, increased discharge, decreased libido, and mood swings. And however, this is very important, and again, I'm not a medical professional, but this is what the label says. It says if you have pre-existing conditions like cardiovascular issues, hypertension, angioedema, cloasma gravidarum, and seizures, and you take meds for those things, or HIV and AIDS, and you take meds for those things, there's other side effects that can possibly be happening to you if you take POP. And I don't know what a lot of those mean, but basically just like tell your doctor if you have any of those things if you are planning on taking POP. But yeah, and I got all this information from the National Library of Medicine titled Oral Contraceptive Pills, updated in 2022 if you want to read more about those special, more rare side effects. But, it's okay that those are the general side effects, but I feel like some people experience, like, especially for me, like I'm just very hypersensitive, and so I know like people will experience other things than the side effects I listed. So it's important. And also, over-the-counter pills have significant drug and tobacco interactions. So also look at that up as well. Anything you want to add to like the side effects of POP?
No, I mean some of those things have happened to me while I've been taking POP, and also just like itchy boobs, which is I feel like that goes with like tenderness.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm excited because I'm learning so much about what's happening in my body that I just did not look up and threw away my little side effect thing. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is probably the issue.
Yeah, it's a long list, but,
so, I gotta do it.
Did you get, if you don't mind me asking, but like irregular like periods?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that just kind of happens anyway with me.
Okay,
so it's,
gotcha.
but like for the first 3 months, I would say it has been like fairly irregular. I'm sure in like the next few months, it's gonna like really even out because that's what kind of birth control has been doing for me. I just switched everybody from estrogen based to the progestin only.
Yeah.
The Protestant one.
Yeah.
So it has been an interesting like experience. Well, not completely interesting, but it's just been fun.
It's been an experience.
It's been an experience.
Yeah. So I have some more like exciting fun facts that I feel like are important to share. It's birth control for trans people.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So trans people can benefit from POP and Progestin. Well, there still needs to be more data, but there's so much evidence that it can help. So yeah, like I read a few articles basically, but all of the articles said they need more like evidence-based trials and stuff like that. But trans people who take estrogen as HRT can benefit from taking POP or using progestin cream as well. And it's also used for cis men because it's helpful for some other reasons that I'm going to read in a minute. And trans people who take testosterone as HRT can also benefit from POP because testosterone doesn't prevent you from getting pregnant 100%, and it doesn't stop your period right away, and POP won't interfere with your HRT like the estrogen-based one will. So it's perfectly safe. It's not going to mess with that dose of testosterone. And for trans people who aren't taking testosterone but feel dysphoric about their periods, POP can help reduce bleeding without interfering with the estrogen and testosterone already in your body. I've heard on YouTube, which is such a great source, but like from other trans people sharing like tips and stuff about like people who don't have access to testosterone, they recommend getting on POP to help stop their periods and not like mess up with their estrogen testosterone balance. And yeah, so for trans people who take estrogen as HRT, there's anecdotal evidence that using progestin in addition to estrogen helps increase your bone density, increase your breast size, improves your sleep, reduces anxiety, and it reduces estrogen withdrawal. So like you might have to stop taking your estrogen before like a procedure, or you might be stopping estrogen but want to avoid menopausal symptoms, so you might take POP. It also reduces oily skin and reduces body odor. So those are some cool things that progestin does for trans people. And I think it can also help cis men too, because there was a study done in 2020 where this person named RJ Flores did this study. Progestin helped reduce anxiety during nicotine withdrawal as well, which is also pretty important, especially because like there are tobacco interactions with birth control in general. So it's really nice that it kind of helps you out in that way. But yeah, so people who take estrogen for HRT, they might have some mild side effects, but usually what is reported is that it clears up within days of taking progesterone. One of the reasons one might choose POP instead of COC is if they're sensitive to estrogen, they don't want it to interfere with HRT, or they're breastfeeding, or if they have high risks of high blood pressure or blood clots. And yeah, that is all about pop and cock. What were some of the pros and cons of switching?
Well, so there wasn't really a reason for me to switch from estrogen-based birth control that I thought of, but I was going to a new doctor, or actually I changed general practitioners, and I was like, I need birth control. Like, I had taken myself off of it for a while, and I was like, you know what, I should probably get back on this.
Yeah.
I'm feeling gross. And so then I went to that cute little web doctor, Nurx, and they did a whole like interview with me, and they're like, well, you got migraines as a kid, you could probably get, like, being on an estrogen birth control could increase your chances of stroke or seizure or blood clots. And I was like, cool, glad that I've been taking this for like 10 years.
What?
Which maybe they didn't know back when I was prescribed, and I just kept asking for Sprintec, and they were like, sure, here you go, you know your body better than we do. So
wow.
They did, and then she's like, well, we'll just switch you to this one. And I was like, okay, cool. And they sent me a ton of samples, and then they sent me like a 4-month pack, and I was like, wow, it's so easy. I also just, like, from a personal standpoint, really enjoy the fact that, like, the one that I'm taking, the pop, but I can't remember which brand it is. It's like Mylan, or made by Mylan. I'm holding my hand up like this for minutes. There isn't like a sugar, like, there's not like that, like
the sugar pill
at the end of the month. So I always would just skip those. Like, I wouldn't take them because I was like, you're gonna put cancer in my sugar pills. I don't know.
Right.
I just wouldn't do it. And
then classic Mylan cancer in the
sugar pill. Well, Sprintec, I guess, but Mylan, Mylan has like the like, you just take it the full month, and then you throw the pack away, and then you grab another one, and you just. So I don't, and I'm not sure if it's like one of the, what is it, the bi, tri, mono.
Yeah, those are just for the estrogen-based ones.
Oh, then it's not. So
with pop, it's the same every time.
And that's been really great for me, honestly, because then I can just take it, and I don't have to deal with the placebo effect pills, which, it's nice because it doesn't have, like, I don't have, like, that week of just, like, oh, now my body's getting nothing.
Right.
But I'm still getting a little bit of something.
Yeah. What did you think about, like, the things I read about, like, using pop for, like, trans people?
Yeah, that was really interesting, and it makes a lot of sense, and is also kind of, like, what I was trying to do in my own little head of, like, would love this to go away. And, you know, I'm not, like, I'm not ever planning at this moment in the near future of doing, like, HRT, but it is, like, it's nice to know that, like, I'm already on my way if I want to.
Right. Like, just that it works so well for people who want to take HRT, and also for people who want to take birth control, who need to stop smoking, and helping with the anxiety from the withdrawal of that. I just, you know, I was just like, wow, this is so interesting.
A miracle drug.
Hopefully,
hopefully nothing comes out about it in, like, 10 years.
Yeah,
I mean, it's still, because it's do you know when Pop came out or started?
Yes. I'll read that at the end in history, because I can't think of it on the top of my head.
That's fair. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, because I'm assuming they've tested it on enough people at this point.
And animals.
Yes. Sorry, babes.
So your doctor mentioned, like, that was, like, the main reason is because that doctor was, like, really thorough. Is that why you made the switch?
Yes, yeah. And they were like, yeah, you should really not do that. And I was like, you know what? And maybe I didn't do a ton of research on my own. I was like, I'll trust you because you're telling me this thing. And it's actually worked out really well so far. I don't have migraines anymore, but I was like, if there is a chance that my brain is going to go, I would like to not have it be because of birth control. So, well, yeah, that is really important. I'm really glad that doctor was, like, so thorough. Like, I feel like, it's so easy just to be like, yep, here's birth control. It seems safe for most people. And it's like... And because I haven't had any negative reaction thus far, which is, like, really great. But, I don't know. I thought it was interesting that pop does like sends little like things up to your brain. I mean, I guess that just is a lot of things
that's
send
where
things to your brain.
Yeah, that's where your cycle starts, is up here, and then it sends it down to your ovaries. And they talk to each other.
Our brains are too powerful, man.
Yeah. Yeah. One more question about the thing is, do you take it at the same time every day?
Yes, and I'm smiling because on weekends I don't, because I get up at 5:30 in the morning to come to DC to work, and then so that's like four days a week I'm doing that, and then 3 days a week I sleep in until 8. So I do usually, but I'm not perfect. Like I'm not the perfect person, but luckily I don't have a chance of getting pregnant at this time because of who I am sleeping with and partnered with. So I don't necessarily, I'm not trying to block a baby at the moment, but
I've seen reports of people like missing it for a little bit, like they sleep in or something, and they start like getting period symptoms.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe that is a thing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I asked. Like,
oh, cool. Yeah. I mean,
because it digests super quickly.
Super quick.
Yeah.
I just need to start taking it at 5:30, and I'm just gonna go back to sleep.
That's a good system.
Yeah. I guess. Or I guess I could take it later in the 5:30 days.
Right. That is our fun facts about pop and cock, estrogen and non-estrogen based birth control.
Nice.
And up next, we're going to tell our period stories.
Yay, period stories.
All right, we're back. We are going to tell our blood stains, aka our period stories. And I'm going to tell my period story about my experience with birth control, which is like very interesting. It's actually not that sexy. It's unfortunate actually, but
oh no.
Yeah, here's what happened. I was 18. I was 18 and I was getting ready to go to college. I was still finishing out my senior year, and I was like in between boyfriends and partners at the time. I had just broken up with my boyfriend because a lot of reasons. We remained really good friends and we kept seeing each other, and I basically couldn't commit because I was in love with this straight girl and I just didn't feel right being with him. It was very emotional. Anyway, that's not the point.
We've all been there.
Yeah, totally. This isn't about that. Just giving you context of what was going on with my personal life then. So I was somewhat single. We'd still see each other, but then I'd be like, sorry, this is just not the person I want to be with. And I was getting ready to go to college, and my mom had the unfortunate talk with me, and I hated talking about relationship stuff with my mom, as anybody does, I'm sure. I mean, there are some people who like talking about that with their mom. Just, not me. And she said, listen, I'm going to get you on birth control because you're going to college soon, and you never know what's going to happen. Doesn't mean you should have sex, but I want you to be safe in case anything happens. And I'm like, what's going to happen if I don't have sex? And she was like, and that's what I said to her. I was definitely having sex, but like she was like, like, I don't want you to have sex. And I'm like, okay, well, if I don't have sex, then why do I need to get on this? And she's like, well, you might be at a party and drinking, and you never know what's going to happen. And in my head, it was like, what the fuck? What happened? Yeah, I
know. That's so fucking bad.
I know, this is so bad. I was like, what are you implying? Like, anyway, I never put down a drink. So that's
a whole nother conversation that she could have been having with you, I suppose. But
yeah, 100%. But that's where her mind was at, and I totally get it. And anyways, so that's why she was like, we got to get you on birth control because you never know what's going to happen. But don't have sex. But get on birth control. And she goes, we have to keep this a secret because your dad can't know, because he thinks if you get on birth control, you're gonna have sex, and he won't agree with it, and then he's gonna try to make you stop, which is really gross and dumb, and I had already been having sex for years, so it didn't matter anyway. Anyways, so I don't really remember the process of getting on birth control. I know I went to the doctor with my mom, and then she left the room, and I was with the doctor alone. But I don't really remember the details about that. And my mom got the birth control. She picked it up, and she had it in a bag, and she handed it to me in secret. And all I remember about it is that it had hormones in it. It had progesterone in it. I don't remember what it was called, but yeah. So I take it, and then I have to go to school in the morning, and I'm on the way out, and suddenly I have this urge to throw up. For me, throwing up is a nighttime activity. Like, you don't want to wake up and throw up. Like, that's just not me. Like, not that it's a good time to throw up anyway, but like in my head, I'm like, okay, like in the nighttime, I feel more prepared if it's gonna happen. But yeah, so my mom was like all worried about it, but she was like, oh, like you'll get used to it, and like sent me on my way to school. Next day, same thing. I was throwing up again. And my dad was home, and she was like, why are you throwing up again? And I was just like, it's because of the birth control. And she was like, shh, don't say that. And she just like sent me on my way again. And I was just like, this is terrible. And eventually I do stop throwing up in the morning, but I take it for like a month, and there's like 1 week where it's just a sugar pill, and then it's like regular pills. I don't know. And my periods at the time had just gotten regular at 18. But I wasn't conscious really about periods at the time, and I don't remember how the pill impacted my periods. It was just, yeah, not something. I was like, it happens when it happens, and that was all I knew about myself. And yeah, this was at the height of my mental illness. Like, I was self-harming. I had a therapist, but I stopped taking psych meds because they made me worse at the time. I love my meds now, but at the time, they weren't working. And I was very depressed and had CPTSD, among other things. So my norm was like, my baseline energy was pretty low. I was also on beta blockers, which makes your heart rate stay low. So it was just like super chill all the time. Jesus. Super chill, super sad, whatever. But not this month that I took the hormonal birth control. I was fucking raging. I was angry for like no reason. Like, I was like, oh, like I wanted to lift a table. Yes, I was like, oh, like I was like warm, like red, seeing red. It was nuts. And so I felt so much like so aggressive, and that's not something I was like super savvy in releasing as somebody who didn't learn about emotional regulation. So I was like a bitch to everybody who talked to me, basically, like when I was taking this. And I knew it was because of the birth control, because I had no reason to be angry. It was just like, I remember like I walked up the stairs one day, and bam, I was just like in a rage about something. And I wasn't like that before. Like, I was just depressed, but like, you know,
not angry and depressed,
chill and fatigued, and like, okay. Yeah, so this was just like a lot. And I was like, I'm going to stop taking it. And it just makes me a nauseous bitch. And not only that, I had been wanting to sleep with that ex I mentioned, because I was like, cool, well, you know, I'm on birth control, like, you know, we have like safer sex without a condom, like, oh, no. Whatever. But I was not in the mood at all the whole time I took it. And I was like, what is the point of taking this if you don't even want to have sex? And I think that's maybe what my mom was planning all along. Like, she was just like, let me give this to you, and you're gonna not want to have sex, because that's exactly what happened. And that's, you know, maybe a secret plan in her mind, I don't know. But I told my mom I wanted to stop taking it, and she was like, no. And she took me to the doctor, and I told this to the doctor, and she recommended taking something without progesterone. And I was like, listen, like, I don't want to mess with this. I'm already mentally ill. I don't want to take any chances and freak out. And I sort of convinced her that I would just go nuts if something went wrong and I tried a new thing. So I basically left, and because of that reason, my mom gave up on trying to make me take birth control, and I was basically like, Mom, I'm not going to get pregnant, I promise. And I didn't. But months later, this is just like the kicker. This has nothing to do with the birth control part of it. It's just my relationship with my mom.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, but I was moving into my dorm, and with my roommate, and both our moms are there cleaning out the room and stuff, and I find a box of condoms left on the top shelf of the closet from whoever lived in that dorm beforehand.
A gift.
Yeah, exactly. And I asked my roommate and her mom if it was theirs, and then they were like, "Oh no, it's not," and like they were chill about it. And I asked my mom like if she put it there, thinking like she actually cared about sexual health, and she was like, "Nope, you won't need that." And she grabbed it and threw it in the trash, and I was just like, "What?" Like I was just like, I thought like seriously, I thought like she was still thinking about that and would maybe put it away, and put it in the back of the closet. But no, it was just a gift from previous dorm dwellers. But I will say, like, my dad was gonna walk in at any moment, so it could have been that she didn't want to take any chances of that awkwardness. But still, that was the story of the time I was on hormonal birth control. It was not a good time. I will say, being mentally ill and not having any emotional regulation, any coping skills, probably really hindered that experience for me. I think like if I were to take it again, it would be so different now that I'm on meds and go to therapy and like am more aware of my cycle, and now that it's regular. So this is more just like, there was so much more going on with me when I was taking this birth control than that. But I was like, at that time I was just like, birth control? Like, and it gave me that misconception of like, birth control sucks. It just dries you up. You don't feel like having sex. You just, I'm mentally ill. Like, it doesn't work for mentally ill people. And that was like my, that became my like opinion about it. But it definitely has changed over time, and yeah, that is my blood stain. That is about the time that I took that birth control.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so not fun. That's not fun at all.
No,
I hate that
it's
for
not
you.
fun. I know. I mean, I think I did. Look, I'm pretty sure I still did try to have sex, like, while on it. At least,
of course.
you give it
Yeah,
your good,
try.
honest try, because it's there, and you're a teenager. Well, I was a teenager, and I was like, cool, like, nothing bad's gonna happen, but, I just wasn't into it. Yeah. I just was angry and a bitch, and probably didn't really help that ex that I was being such a bitch to.
No,
so,
it's not.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah. I apologize to anybody out there who experienced that couple months of hormonal birth control me. I was not in a good way, and I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my story. So what period story do you have?
Oh, my period story. I don't have it about birth control.
Yeah,
because, I don't really have. I don't have some. It's just been chill mostly.
Yeah,
so a very different experience with that. But
cool.
I do have my first. Well, I don't know if it was my first leakage story, but it is definitely the most memorable. Mm-hmm. It was the summer of probably like 2007. But
what a summer!
Don't quote me.
Yeah,
I was.
What was that, pre-Obama area?
Pre-Obama area. Okay. So I was in about 7th grade. I think I was just getting into the swing of having my new body, because I had definitely had my period before this. Like, I knew that, but still getting used to it. And my grandparents were taking me and my little brother on a camping trip in their RV, and more importantly, to Indiana Beach, which Indiana Beach is like a really shitty amusement park that's in the heart of Indiana on a lake. It's got rickety old roller coasters. It has no business putting the public on them. I don't even know if it's still open, but and hopefully they don't sue you for any slander, or me for
slander. Right.
No, but
damn you, we love Indiana Beach.
It's like, I mean, it was so much fun because there was so little regulation. And maybe it's better now, but like think Roller Coaster Tycoon, like level of like Anyway,
and they called it the beach because there was a lake.
Yeah, there was a lake, so you could go and you could swim on the beach, and then there was a water park section, and then there were all of these like really old like rides, and then they had like a whole camping ground. And so like this was like a place where a lot of people who went on vacation with their parents or their families because it was pretty cheap, low key. The kid it was a small park. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's like about 2 hours away. We go from Northwest Indiana, where I grew up, to a little bit more central, but still in Northwest Indiana, about a 2-hour drive. And finally we arrive, and we're in my grandpa's diesel truck, just real loud, just whatever. We hop out, and I'm like, my little brother looks at like the seat and is like, what the fuck?
No.
Well, he was like 12 maybe, so he wasn't like, what the fuck? He was like, Haley, there's something on your pants. And I was like, oh no. And then my grandparents, I was like, just bled onto my grandpa's truck and like threw some of my favorite shorts. And I remember being like, and my grandma like looking at me and being like, did you, is this your first time? And I just said, yeah. And like my grandma was like going through menopause, so I don't think she had any pads. Like we had to go to a specific like Walgreens. My little brother was confused at what was going on because he had the same like level of health education, sex ed as an Indiana person.
Were they the same age?
My little brother?
Yeah.
He was 12, and I was probably about. Oh wait, no, maybe I was 12. Grade. So I was in 7th grade. Sorry. He was probably 8 at the time.
Oh shit! So
he was really a child. Yeah. I was like, I always think of him as a 12-year-old. So no, I was probably like 12, and 13 maybe. No way, 12. And yeah, so then like I felt awful the whole time because I was like cramping, and then I was bleeding, and I had like these big pads on, and that's where I learned the toilet paper trick because I was like, these aren't going to support me the whole week at Indiana Beach. But I still rode every single ride. I was like, you are not going to mess up my time. And it was like, this is an additional like fun fact is like the year before I had gotten food poisoning right before, and even though I was like my stomach, I would like get off a ride and go throw up in the bathroom and then come back and ride a different ride.
You really like rides.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I didn't want to the other thing is I didn't want to ruin everybody else's time.
Sure, yeah.
And also, you only get to go to Indiana Beach once a year, so I was like, I gotta make the most of this, or else they won't bring me back. Yeah. So that's my fun story.
So it stained the truck?
Yeah, a little bit. Like it was like a slightly like leather seats, but then also had like a bit of fabric. So it was like he wiped off some of it, and then other parts it was more stained. It's like I want to kill myself. Thank you.
Did your grandpa wiped it up too?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. I don't know. I left because I was like, I want to die, and I went in the RV, and it was just like, I want to die.
That must have been tough.
But that's the life.
Did you feel like they were nurturing about it, or like caring about it, or were they like?
I mean, I think they were just dealing with the situation as it happened. Like they didn't necessarily like make me feel shamed, but we didn't like talk about it like that I know of, or maybe I just like really just blocked it out.
Blacked it out, yeah.
Like totally. My family is not good at having difficult conversations, I would say. And so I just like. I think it was like, okay, we're dealing with the situation. We're getting you what you need. Now, let's do rides.
Yeah, right.
Which is fine. And I also didn't want to talk about it because my little brother was there.
Right. He had probably so many questions. I really wonder, like, if he's like, oh man, Haley's gonna die or something.
Haley's dying. Yeah. What's wrong? I have no idea. I don't even know if he remembers it. I'll have to ask him at some point.
Right.
It's like really etched into my memory.
Well, yeah, for sure.
For him, he was probably just like,
right. Yeah, and let's go to Wow. So was it your first time or no?
It was like maybe my third time.
Okay.
Like I think I had it before. Like I knew what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
but like I wasn't prepared for anything. So
Wow.
good times.
Good times. Yeah, those leaks, they'll get you.
They will.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
They're, yeah, I hope some of the rides were fun.
Oh, they were. I mean, they're always really fun.
Yeah.
Always really dangerous. The more dangerous, the more fun.
Yeah, totally. Right on. Well, yeah, that was our bloodstains. And we'll be right back to talk about some history. All right, y'all, we're back. We're going to do a product review about norethindrone myelin, which is the one that you are taking.
These things are happening in my body.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a little more deeply about that specific type. So what it does, I mentioned it a little bit before, but it thickens cervical mucus, suppresses ovulation, decreases the LH and the FISH, which makes it effective in treating PCOS and acne and all those other lovely things. It typically absorbs within 1 to 2 hours. And the warnings that it comes with are there's higher chances of adverse effects when combined with tobacco. Although there aren't studies about this with POP, they just assume that this happens with POP as well because it happens with estrogen-based.
But sorry, not to interrupt.
Yeah,
but also, I thought that they recommended cis men to take it with tobacco. Or
to help with withdrawal.
Okay.
Like when you're wanting to stop, but like when you take it with tobacco, it can increase side effects. And so, like things like ovarian cysts, ectopic pregnancy, irregular bleeding shouldn't be taken by people with breast cancer, pregnancy, liver tumors, undiagnosed bleeding, or hypersensitivity to myelin, which I think you only know if you take myelin. Yeah. And there's some drug interactions, anticoagulants, anti-infection pills, anti-HIV, protease inhibitors. I don't know too much about what those are, but I think you will know if you take them. St. John's wort also has a drug interaction, which is interesting. And then the side effects, like were mentioned before, irregular bleeding, which is pretty common, that clears up within a few months. No reports of serious illness due to overdose, which is great, even if your kid accidentally takes it. So that's really nice, it's safe. It has to be taken at the same time every day for effectiveness, with no breaks in between packs, because people have reported bleeding if they miss the time they're supposed to take it. And if you have a miscarriage or an abortion, you can take it the very next day, which is, usually for other things you can't do that. And then it's recommended that you start taking it on the first day of your bleed, but if you don't, it's okay. But they just say to use another form of birth control, like a condom, if you're using it for pregnancy prevention. And yeah.
Oh no, there's
they
a
tell
story.
you. Oh yeah, there's a whole story about myelin. But
okay,
before we get into that, any thoughts on?
No, just no. It makes sense that that when you skip taking it or you take it late, that you start to break through bleed, because I think that has happened, and I've just been like, breakthrough bleeding, cool, and then I go along, with my life, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Do you remember when you started? Did you take it on your first bleed, or did you just take it immediately?
I took it immediately on that next Sunday. I didn't wait for the next bleed because I was like, I don't even know when that's gonna happen.
Right.
And it just happened so weird. I don't know. I was like, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah. Cool. So let's get into myelin, because there's a whole thing here, and I was like,
oh no.
I kept reading, and the more I read, the more I was like, I have to include this on the podcast. Anyway, so it's a wild story, I have to tell you, so bear with me here. The packager is Myelin Pharmaceuticals, which has an incorporated Inc. in Morgantown, West Virginia, and that's where it started, and laboratories in India, And so some recent updates with Mylan is that they recently joined Viatris, a global health community, in 2020. And Viatris means path of three in Latin, which is just a fun fact, has nothing to do with this story. Mm-hmm. Unless you can find some weird linkage with the story I'm about to tell you, it doesn't matter. So Viatris is a merge of two companies, Mylan and Upjohn. Upjohn is a Pfizer off-patent medicine division. And so they joined together and created Viatris. And that is what is recently happening with Mylan. So they're no longer Mylan, they are now Viatris. But here's the history of Mylan. They went public in 1973. They have shares in NASDAQ, Biotech, and S&Ps. I'm not really into Wall Street, but if you know things about this, you'll connect the dots shortly. They were founded, they went public in the 70s. They were founded in 1960 in a skating rink in West Virginia.
That's so lit.
I know, they started in this skating rink, and it's relocated numerous times since then, of course. But they started small, and there's just so much tea here, y'all. I can't even begin. Oh. But they started small with drugs that actually helped people, and basically they had better products and exposed worse generic products, which brought to light some corruption that was in the FDA, with different, just regular meds, for different diseases and stuff. So it shed some light on the FDA corruption, and then they got big, and this is where things have changed. Their recent biggest criticism is raising the price of EpiPens. And so that's Mylan. That's, when people talk about the EpiPen crisis, it's Mylan. So they raised it from $100 in 2013 to $609 in 2016. And when I read about the price of EpiPens to manufacture it was $30.
Yeah, it's real cheap, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's really fucked up.
$609 in 2016. That's ridiculous for an EpiPen. And Mylan actually, this is another fun fact that I just remember in my brain, they actually really pushed EpiPens out on people and on schools and hospitals, and tried to make every public organization have one, similar to defibrillators. And they really made it everyone needs to have an EpiPen, which is great.
Which is true.
Everybody does need to have an EpiPen. But then they were great, now that everyone needs to have an EpiPen to be a good building organization, whatever institution, now let's raise it to $600. When asked by New York Times, New York Times interviewed the chairman, Robert Corey. Robert Corey literally raised his two middle fingers and said this, and I'm paraphrasing, he said this: "Anyone who criticizes Mylan or its employees can go fuck themselves." And he said it in a fancier way. I think he said he lifted his middle fingers up and said "and anyone who blah 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 Mylan can go copulate with themselves." He said something really
he did a sniveling jerk way of saying "go fuck yourself."
Yes, exactly.
Robert Corey can go fuck himself.
Exactly. And then Heather Bresch, who's the other main person, the company CEO, said pretty much the same thing. Something along the lines of "go fuck yourself" to New York Times when interviewing them about this EpiPen crisis. So Robert Corey earned $98 million in 2016, and so that is one fun fact. Institutional Shareholder Services, also known as ISS, criticized them because it is unbelievable that he could make that much money, because they had lost a lot of their shares. A lot of shareholders pulled out that year because of all this shit going on and the bad publicity and things. And the ISS was basically urging that they expel all their shareholders because of that reason. The other thing about Mylan is they make the lethal injection drug, which is It is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. But it caused German shareholders to divest their shares because European manufacturers refuse to make drugs that can be used for execution down the line. So it's very interesting that they don't have a lot of shareholders, but they can still make $98 million. And yeah, they have manufacturers in 165 countries, and Upjohn in 120 companies, or fuck, 120 countries. Because of all of this, what I just read to you, and like, let me tell you, like, each fact I've read has so much content in there. Like, every fact I've read, it just has so much on it. But I found nothing about when they started making birth control because there's just so much like history. So yeah,
That's crazy.
I know. Yeah, it's like a roller coaster. Like first it was like starting in a roller rink, yay! Like
Cute,
oh my god,
fun.
the FDA is corrupt. Oh my god! And then they become corrupt and start pushing EpiPens at $600, and all of their shares are like fuck, they tank, but still make money because everyone needs EpiPens and all the medicines that they distribute. Because they make a lot of different medications, which is super important.
Just goes to show you, you get big, you turn into the man.
Yeah, you turn greedy. So yeah. So back to the birth control. According to WebMD, they had like a poll of 135 users that reviewed this pill. It got an average rating of 3.1 out of 5 stars. The good reviews, so it's like very right in the middle. Like slightly above the middle. The good reviews is that it's super helpful in pain relief, pain and irregulation due to endometriosis pain, PCOS, endometriosis, or premenopause symptoms. It's also very helpful for mood, and there's very little side effects. If there is side effects, they decrease over time. So that was like the good reviews for most of it. And then the bad reviews were that people experienced irregular spotting and bleeding, weight gain, acne, some increase in the symptoms that they wanted birth control to treat, and thinning hair. And so, you know, it's give or take with like everybody's body is different, has different hormones basically. But overall, the reviews that were good were like outstandingly good. And like the reviews that were bad had like other complications along with the birth control. So everybody's different. They will react differently, which is very important to note here.
Yeah.
So now it comes to our rating, our review, what we think about it given the information we have been given. But let's just talk about like the pill first. So like, how would you rate this product just based on like the pill?
At this point, I'd give it a solid 8 or 9. Always room for improvement, but I mean, the fact that I've like had irregular spotting or bleeding is just like par for the course because I had that anyway. So I'm like whatever, but it's helping with my mood, and it has been treating pain mostly. I barely get cramps now, and I used to get like smack down pain.
Right.
I'm gonna give it an 8. Yeah.
Cool. Good.
How about you? Having not taken it, but all the research.
Like, I would give it like a 7 out of 10 because it is an accessible birth control for people. So the points I give it are like it's accessible, and for people who are sensitive to estrogen, and for people who are trans. It doesn't get a full 10 because of the side effects and requiring perfect use for it to be effective. So it can make it like, you know, if you don't have perfect use, it can make it less effective. And that's kind of hard for people who are taking it for like non-contraceptive related reasons. You know, people be busy and like
people do be busy.
Yeah.
And
but
abortion isn't an option either, so
right.
In a lot of places.
In a lot of places, yeah. So yeah, that's like just based on the pill. So basically like I like it. It seems like it's a really good helpful pill for a lot of people, and I think it's like more accessible. How would you rate the product now based on Mylan?
Yeah, that would be. I'd give it about a 4.
Yeah.
I love a rags to riches story somewhat, but not when you are that much of a dick. Love the skating rink. Very manic pixie dream girl of the company.
Yeah.
But we should definitely dox them.
Yes.
We should march on their West
Right.
Virginian.
Yeah, in Morgantown, West Virginia. Like, yeah, that shit is whack. Like, Robert Corey, what are you doing with your life? Yeah, 3 out of 10. They, for me, like, Mylan completely fucked over so many people due to greed, but they get a few points because they do produce a lot of medicine to like a lot of countries. They produce a lot of good medicine, which is like, the start of their story, right? I don't suppose they were making medicine in the roller rink.
I am imagining like them just like skating and like doing science.
Yeah, just like trying to put together like, I really want this high blood pressure medication to be pressed and like, but aside from that, like they completely fucked over a lot of people who need EpiPens. And
also the fact that they're like killing people in prisons, that's fun. I mean, it's not
Right.
fun. That's not fun. Like that's awful. Like
yes, it is awful that they supply that. It is very weird, and yeah, it is mainly for people in the States because other countries don't.
Kinder to their prisoners, incarcerated folks.
So it makes me wonder where that is manufactured, because I know they like make stuff in India, but I'm wondering where they make that specific drug, because I'm sure they make it in Alabama or something.
Roller skating rink.
In the roller skating rink, right? Yeah. So that is our product review. The Nora. Shit, I forgot how you say it. Northindrone, great. Mylan, work on yourself. Yeah. Well, yeah, that is our product review. Let's take a little break, and we'll be right back.
The first recorded birth control. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
And we're back, and we're gonna do some music. So I was gonna say some music history. No, some menstruation history. We were gonna do the history of hormonal birth control and the first recorded birth control, and more specifically things that you put in your body for birth control, because there's a lot of methods of birth control dating back thousands of years.
We love intestines.
Oh,
so
my
I'm just thinking
gosh,
of
the condoms.
too.
Yeah, totally. So let's start in the 1930s. Elizabeth Bagshaw ran an illegal clinic, the first women's clinic in Canada in the 1930s, prior to the pill, and ran it for 30 years, and she didn't stop working until she was 95. So, shout out Elizabeth Bagshaw for your illegal clinic. We love you for that. But basically, like, it was to help people with birth control. Like, they didn't have birth control methods, but she, like, would help you out in those kinds of situations. And, in 1930s, animal experiments were being done to see if progesterone can stop ovulation. And in 1940, Carl Gerasi synthesized progestin from a Mexican wild yam root, also known as barbasco yam. Aztecs have been doing that for some time, using wild yam root to suppress ovulation. I think it's just like, this is like the first like recorded by a doctor. And so, yeah.
They love indigenous knowledge, man.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, indigenous people.
Yes, thank you so much.
Sorry.
But yeah, so that's very interesting. They did it, the experiments on animals. Important to point that out there. At that point in time, in the 1940s, they were giving them wild yam root, and they just had this hypothesis that progestin can stop ovulation. So yeah, the Comstock law had been around in many states since 1873, which prohibited public discussion of birth control because it was as obscene as discussing pornography at the time. And there was a similar law in Canada as well. In the 1960s, the pill was available, but not for contraceptive reasons. It had to be for menstrual health, or else it was breaking the law. And in 1968, the Catholic Church released an official position deeming birth control pills sinful. Thanks, Pope. Yeah. But ironically, three devout Catholics began clinical research on the pills, and their names were Dr. John Rock, Gregory Pincus, and Margaret Sanger, who found Planned Parenthood. And they had financial backing of Catherine McCormick. So shout out Catherine McCormick for having money. Yeah, it gets fucked up. These people are not great.
The history of birth control and learning about menstrual health in general is just always going to be, it's fucked. Man.
Yes, it is fucked. It is fucked.
Always on the bodies of marginalized women.
Yes, so. Absolutely. So, Dr. John Rock, I don't even know if that is your real name, but you did some fucked up shit, Dr. Rock. It's Doc Rock.
It's such a fucking cool name.
Yeah, Doc
such
Rock.
A fucked up dude.
Yes. So the fucked up shit that he did beforehand with the other doctor, Gregory Pincus, they went to Puerto Rico, where the law was more loose, and they gave 200 women birth control without telling them what it could do or would do, and it did not help clinical research at all, and a couple of them died. So that was terrible. Like, they were definitely racist. It was not only that the law was more loose, it was of the norm to not tell test subjects what was going on at the time. There was very little ethics in scientific research at the time. And yeah, so
it kind of seems like they were treating them like animals.
Exactly. Exactly. So I digress. Margaret Sanger and Rock performed trials in the States, and the first birth control pill was called Enovid, and it was approved for sale in 1960. Enovid, it's so interesting. It makes me think there's something. Enovid sounds like when I'm looking at the word, backwards, it could mean something. Divine. Yeah, I'm like, huh. But anyway, it was called Enovid for some weird reason. And it was not a perfect pill. But they were selling it with a lot of hormones in it, way more than is needed. So it had 10,000 micrograms of progestin. And today's pill has 150 to 50 to 150 micrograms of progestin is needed. They were giving people 10,000 micrograms.
Oh God, imagine just the side effects. It'd be nuts.
Yeah, you'd probably throw up for so long.
Yeah.
I would probably break the table.
Hulk,
throwing cars at my ex, fucking. Yeah, I couldn't
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so critics of the pill made it uproar enough that there were trials in court, which resulted in requiring doctors to discuss the negative side effects of the pill to patients they're prescribing it to. So it's kind of wild that they weren't doing that before.
Imagine that. Well, yeah. I feel like it was probably primarily male doctors talking to their female patients, that they were like, these women will just do they don't know any better. Just take it.
Right. And also that I don't really want to know.
Right. Or they were ew.
Exactly. They're like, you have periods. Well, here's this Enovid. And
this. Yeah. Don't tell me. I don't want to know what's coming out of you. No.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, there's a lot more to that tale that I'm gonna add more onto that in another episode, because a lot of other things happened, a lot of different trials, and obviously like the story of how it went from 10,000 micrograms to 50 micrograms. And I think there's some more to those doctors than meets the eye, definitely. What have you heard about those people before?
I hadn't heard of Greg Pincus or Mr. Doc Rock, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Margaret Sanger with Planned Parenthood. I was like, where do I know her from? Like, and that's about it. I'm like, oh yeah, she helped find the Planned Parenthood, but I can't remember. Is Margaret Sanger? No, that's Margaret Mead. There are too many Margarets coming out here with doing things. No, I'm wildly under-informed about a lot of stuff, so.
I totally get that. Like, I didn't know a lot of this stuff either, and I was like, I need to include this in the pod.
Yeah.
I remember learning about Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood, but I also learned some things about her eugenics type views with the foundation of Planned Parenthood. There's more there. I would like to like research it more, because I don't know if it I don't know the depths of what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But I know like initially Planned Parenthood was like controlling the birth for marginalized communities.
Right. Oh yeah. Sorry, I just pulled up her Wikipedia page because this is who I am as a person. Yeah. It feels like this is like a whole like different episode to talk about like eugenics and like periods and all of like this stuff of how people were doing studies of women's bodies and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a really interesting topic. I don't know if you've already touched on it a bit.
No,
before,
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't talked about any of these topics yet. So Margaret Sanger, I'm not done with you. I might name drop you. I might hate you, but I don't know quite yet. But yeah, that is a little bit about the history of the first hormonal birth control. Like I mentioned, there was like a long history of other types of birth control, and I'm sure in other indigenous communities there is evidence of other types of hormonal birth control. Someone I share a lot about, her name is Mujer de la Tierra. She is Mexican, and she shares a lot about like Mexican herbalism and about how people used to perform abortions with herbal medicines. And so I know that there is, I imagine because of that, there is a history of people using different methods of birth control that adjust your hormones. It's just that this was like, the first recorded one in colonial America.
Right.
And like is the type of birth control as we know it as a pill. So I think there's definitely going to be some more episodes on like with the history of like other types of birth control, because that really interests me. Yeah. Like I wouldn't have thought it would have been a yam root.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like, I mean, a root makes sense, but for some reason I'm like, yam. No, but it's really interesting to think about, how different cultures are and have been doing birth control, and just the cultural significance around menstruation in general.
Yes, yeah, it's super important. But yeah, that is the menstrual history that I have for you today. And that is also the end of the episode. Do you have anything else to add about any of the topics?
No. I'm just excited to see what else you cover in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
And I appreciate you having me on. Just appreciate you having me on.
Yes, and likewise. And go check out Q4Q. It's very cool. It's a very fun pod.
We also talk about the Comstock laws on there because, it really goes hand in hand.
Yes.
Talking about obscenity laws, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, remember, y'all, you can follow me on Instagram. I share little updates in between episodes sometimes, not very regularly, but that's what it is. And check out my resource guide. I will update it as soon as I can, but it's there for you to see all of my resources and where I get this information and all that stuff. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your summer. And end of pod.
End of pod. Bye.
Bye. Hell
Nice.
yeah.
We did it.
That was a solid episode.